Hey, friends. Welcome back to another episode. Listen, I'm still sitting in the Walmart parking lot, and I promised you that I would continue to share the story of what God has been up to, asking me to do, where I've been, all the things. And so I'm going to tell you a story. I've shared this. And again, as I share on social media, I promise that I'm going to share with you guys as well. And I'm going to get faster so that you don't have to wait for it, because I personally believe if you're not on social media, you should have the information first. And I'm getting better at that. I just don't know how he wants me to get these out weekly or just post them all at the same time. I have no idea. All right. So some of the things God has been asking me to do. Number one, he's been asking me to lay down my coaching business, and I don't know what to think about that because I'm like, if I could do anything all day, every day, it would be to coach women. And also, I thought that was how I'm paying for this ministry that he is asking me to do. And so I'm like, I don't understand, God. But again, here's the thing. We do not have to understand to be able to say yes and trust him. He has never let me down yet. And as terrifying as it is, again, when I hit record on my phone to record this, I was like, I thought I was going to talk about the things God's asking me to lay down and say yes to, but I kind of forgot about this one until I hit record. I'm like, okay, here we go. It kind of terrifies me because I gave up a 6-figure business to coach and do this ministry. And financially, my family could use the income, but more importantly, I thought, again, the coaching business was to benefit the ministry, because ministry isn't free and it costs money. And so this podcast is a ministry and it costs money to run, and Move Meetup, which is something that honestly, I don't think I've talked about much on the podcast because I thought it was more for the local community here. But God has definitely shown me a lot lately involving Move Meetup. And so that is the ministry that God is like, you're going to run with this. This is your focus. And, the other thing that is really interesting, and I'm okay not coaching. It makes me sad a little bit because I know coaching, I know I'm still coaching. I think it's temporary, but regardless, I don't know what I don't know. And if I never coach another person one-on-one again, that's okay. The Lord will bring other people to do that work. The real thing that I think God has showed me is that I have been depending on myself to finance the things that God wants me to do. And as long as I depend on myself, I can't partner with the people that he wants me to partner with. And he wants me to hold out my hand and receive what other people have to offer. The people that he's going to lead to be a part of this ministry that he's asking me to lead. And if you can't hear in my voice, how terrifying it is, it's been terrifying. And I know it's good for me. It's for my benefit. And, the Lord can work in a lot of ways. He could send a check to my door and be like, this is for this ministry. But the goodness of God is he's healing my heart and loves me so much that he's rewriting trauma and struggles that I've had in my life where, there's been rejection or needs not met, even as a child, whether it was physically or emotionally. I mean, physically, I feel like needs were met. Emotionally, definitely, probably not. I love my family, but I think we all, they were just going through their own things and doing the best they can do. And in that, they couldn't always meet the emotional needs. And I think, I'm not the only one that grew up where we didn't really talk about our emotions. They were dismissed and no one ever acknowledged anything hard. It's like we just suck it up and move on, and we do what we need to do. And I think a lot of that was just survival mode for them. So, not blaming. I think they were doing the best they can do. But the goodness of God is that He sees and He knows, and that was not His desire. And so, as I lean in and lean on God, He is healing brokenness through restoration, and it's like areas, like He's rewiring parts of me through these areas where, man, it's very distorted in my brain. And so we're going to talk about asks. I feel like this is a good place to start. So, he told me earlier, there's one person that I do not feel bad about asking for money. And that is my husband. I can ask him for money all day long, and it doesn't bother me, because honestly, he's the only person who's really never let me down and who I really feel safe with. And in that, at the same time, I'm like, am I supposed to, because again, I gave up an income and coaching, as much as I've worked on getting coaching clients and all of that, I'm like, okay, Lord, what is out of alignment? Something is missing, because coaching clients have not been coming. And, this is very vulnerable. I feel like I'm airing my dirty laundry, and I don't like it, just for the record. But I think it's important for you to understand the full picture, not just so my story, but most importantly, so you can understand how God will work in your life. Because, again, God is so good. My alarm was going off. I hope that did not... It's silent. I hope that didn't mess anything up. Okay. So I share this and air my, dirty laundry. Again, it's way too much details. I'm oversharing a lot, but I feel like God wants me to. And it's also very humbling. I think we overachievers like to pretend like everything is great, but, since I moved, okay, let's back up. I was on track, before I moved to the area where I live now. I was on track to not hit six figures again, but I was okay with that, with my coaching business. I think I was on track for, 50K, 60K. And I was like, okay, that's doable. That gives me money to contribute to my family, spend the money. I don't want him to have to do everything. I can contribute to the family budget, but also it provides for the podcast and all the ministry things, the website, and, all of those things. Since I moved from there to where I live now, which is interesting because I named my houses and the house that we currently live in I just felt like the Lord was like, this is your house of refuge. This is where the healing continues to take place. The old house where we lived before we just moved here was the house of freedom, and it's where the healing began. And I stopped having to live in survival mode, and I was able to I was becoming intentional and proactive in lots of different areas of my life. And I really just connected with God, like at a whole nother level. Okay. So, when I moved to Kentucky, or moved to like the area where we live now in, like over near Lexington, again, House of Refuge, we moved here at the end of 2023. So we've been like all of 24, all of 2025. And the first year we were here, I felt like the Lord was like, business is not your priority. Your family is. Surrender and submit. Follow me. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm homeschooling both of my kids. I'm learning to follow and just disciple my kids at a different level than I ever have. And again, this like posture of surrender for my business, assuming that if I was to surrender, that meant the Lord was going to make a way, and it was miraculously going to be profitable again and coaching clients. At the same time, in 2024, the coaching clients I was currently working with, the Lord was very clear to me that it was time for them to learn to fly and to depend on Him more than they depended on me. And so I released them. And I know that I was supposed to do that. It didn't make it hard. It was trust on all fronts that they could do it. And that God would provide for them and protect them. And financially, that I would be okay, and that He would just bring more coaching clients. Since then, He brought one. And that was enough to carry me through and pay for everything for the ministry and the podcast, the website, all of that for last year. And I thought for sure, I think it was for 6 months. So I think, I'm trying to think, I feel like in January maybe, or December, she was supposed to renew. And I thought for sure she was going to renew, because I felt like there was still work we could do together, and I didn't necessarily feel like she was supposed to, like I was supposed to release her like I had with the others. And yeah, the Lord told her she was supposed to do it on her own, and I was like, okay. So that meant zero income coming in. Zero, friends. Zero. I have, all of last year, like we are down to the bare bones. I don't pay anyone. I do everything myself. Anything that could be eliminated as far as expenses, everything's bare bones. So anyways, I was like, okay, like again, God's going to provide. And come February, no more coaching clients. And I'm starting to sense, I'm like, okay, God, like, what are you doing? Because like, I felt like I was in alignment. Like I'm doing everything He's asking me to do. Now, for the record, since then, He showed me some areas where, again, I have hesitated or I thought I was doing it, but I was like 1 degree off. Like He asked me to do something and I did it kind of, but not the way He asked me to do it. So He's been like showing me those kind of things where I needed to repent over those things. But more importantly, what He's shown me is like, I am doing this the world's way, thinking that the coaching business, again, is going to provide the income to pay for the ministry. And the thing that He's asking me to do with the podcast and, the Move Meetup piece that I think is about to get bigger. In December, he told me to move it online. And again, I hesitated because I was like, I don't know how to do this. How do I bring it online? And I was having a pity party over the podcast and him telling me to, pause the podcast and not be recording new episodes. So, 2 months of me just in this wilderness floundering and like having a little bit of a pity party for me. I will admit. So, long story short, okay, 15 minutes in, what am I telling you this for? So, in February, I don't even know what happened. I think it started with a coaching call. I barter. I can't even afford a coach right now. But I do some work for someone who God had asked me to volunteer and do work for someone. Again, I was hoping it was going to be paid and it's not. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm just going to trust you. So I'm like doing this volunteer work. Again, another one of those where I'm like, God, do you need me? Like, am I supposed to go get a job? Like, and again, some days I'm like, I think it would be fun to work in a nursing home. I mean, I could do anything. I could do coaching for big businesses or, something like that. At one point, I thought that's what I was doing with the chamber. I could go work at the school. I could work at a nursing home. Like, there are a lot of things I could do that I think I would actually truly enjoy and absolutely love doing and still be the hands and feet of Jesus and humble myself, But it would be fun and I could do it. And all the time, I have not felt released to do that. And I don't feel like that's what God has wanted me to do. Instead, he's like signed me up to do volunteer work. And it doesn't make any sense. When you look at it on paper, it's like, what are you doing? You're wasting all these hours giving away your time. I volunteer and help with the cheer team and volunteer with Fit Media and the Founder Collective. And you would think that, it just doesn't make sense on paper. But what has come from it is free coaching. She does free coaching in exchange for my time. And so on one of those calls, I think she's like, you're still hiding, Melissa. You need to stop hiding. And I was like, really? Because I don't feel like I've been hiding. I feel like I've really been putting myself out there. Again, the onion layers that peel back where I think when it comes to new territory, that's where I find myself hiding again. And I'm like, okay, fine. It's fine. It's fine. So that's where it started. And then through that, I was given the opportunity to write for a book. There's a women's devotional coming out, and part of that, the launch party is in Michigan, and I get to be a part of this other conference, and there's an opportunity to stay and go deeper and just learn more. And I felt like the Lord was like, I want you to go to this. It was $600. And again, no coaching clients means I don't have $600. And I kept praying, Lord, send me a coaching client, so I can pay for this. Because again, I'm not supposed to take from my family budget. And I'm like, okay, Lord, how are we doing this? And then I realized, I felt like he was teaching me to ask for what I need instead of pretending like I had it all by myself, which is so, so hard for me. And I was like, okay. And then I felt like the Lord was asking me to ask my dad. And, there are some people who can ask for things very easily. I so wish that was me. Maybe one day. But right now I feel like there's so much brokenness and rejection that the Lord is healing me from that it is extremely painful to ask for anything. I had to ask for endorsements for the book, and that wrecked me. Something that should be an honor for someone to be asked to give an endorsement. And I'm sobbing because I felt like it was like there was so much fear in the potential rejection or like not feeling worthy of their time to even ask them to consider it. I'm telling you, major issues. And there's so much brokenness there that the Lord has like been healing me from as I lean into this very uncomfortable space. And so, the endorsements came around the same time of asking my dad, which is who God asked me, you know, he was like, you need to ask your dad for money. And I'm someone like, I like to give money. I don't like to ask. And it's very humbling to ask for money. And I would almost rather die than ask for money. And my dad knows this. Like, I want to give him money. I want to bless him because that feels really good to do. But to ask is, again, super hard, as you can tell by the emotions. And so I finally called him on my birthday, and told him, hey, when you get a minute, I need to talk to you. He was busy because he's always busy because he's in his fourth quarter, as he says, of his life, and he still does not slow down. He's always doing something, and he's like, yeah, what is it? You know, and I was like, well, I need to talk to you, and I just want you to know I'm going to ask for money. And he's like, wait, what? Because, again, I don't ask for money. And I was like, I have this opportunity to go to this thing that I feel like is going to be super beneficial, and it's going to unlock, like, I just know I'm supposed to be in the room, and I'm supposed to be a part of it. And it's $600. And he was like, well, how much money do you need? Actually, I don't think I told him. I did not tell him any of that yet. I just said, you know, I have this opportunity, and I feel like I need to say yes, but it costs money. And I don't even know that I told him that, actually. I don't know what I said, but basically it's like, I need money. And he said, how much do you need? And I said, well, it's somewhere around 600 because, again, like, I thought, well, you know, if I'll take what you can give me, 200, 300, I'll find the rest of the money some other place. And do you know what my dad said? Again, he specifically did not ask me what it was for. He didn't ask me what it was for. He did nothing. He just said, how much do you need? I remember that so distinctly because, like, I was just mind blown, in awe, even though I know my dad's character and he's a giver, and of course he would do this because that's just who he is. But he was like, how much do you need? And I floundered a little bit because the idea of saying I need $600 just seemed like, again, it's so humbling, and it's a big ask in my opinion. And he was like, do you think if I gave you 1,000, that would be good? That way you have extra and that will cover it all. And I was like, what? Dad, you haven't even asked me what it's for, you know? And he's like, well, if you need it, I'm going to give it to you. Do you need me to overnight it? Or, you know, I'm like, you haven't even asked me what it's for. Do you want to know what it's for? Like, why I even need it? And, a few things came to my mind, you know, as like, he gave me above and beyond what I asked for. Isn't that God? Isn't that God? But also, I have a good relationship with my dad. It's not always been, but it is now. And he knows me. He knows my heart, and he knows I'm not going to squander $600. I'm going to use it well, and I'm going to use it for something that's important. And so, in that, I gotta still watch my time because I have a meeting at 10. In that, sorry, I'm trying to find a tissue in my purse. He said, you know, he would write me a check and put it in the mail, and he did. And when I got it, it was like, this is not borrowing. This is a gift. You do not have to pay me back. And I'm telling you, that is the goodness of God, because if I would have had the coaching clients, I wouldn't have had to ask for that. And God would not be restoring that part of me that is broken, where there's so much fear of rejection. Because I can ask for little things, but when it's something that really, really, really matters, like that level of vulnerability just seems impossible. And at the same time, the Lord is like teaching me that this ministry, this work that he has me doing with the podcast and Move Meetup and all the things he's asking me to do, he's like, you aren't doing this alone. This is for me. Why do you think that you have to do all the stuff alone? And he reminded me of an Exodus when Moses is called to build the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant and, all that stuff. And I might be getting my words mixed up because it's been a while and I don't have it right in front of me. But I spent a lot of time in Exodus during that time with a tape measure, measuring the space of like what they said, changing the metrics, cubits into feet and inches and all that stuff. And as I was praying about this, the Lord showed me that and reminded me of it so much so that I was like, let me go back and read it one more time. And I wish I had my Bible or my journal here so I could give you this. But what he showed me was this part where God called Moses to build it. And then he said, you're going to go to the people and you will receive what offerings what was the words he used? Basically, like the Lord would nudge them to give and Moses was to receive whatever it was that people were to give. And it's something about the heart. Like he would position in their heart to give and they would give and Moses was to receive. And that is how they paid for all of the stuff that needed to be done. And, it wasn't financial. It was like materials, gemstones, like all of this stuff. People raising their hands to do the work that needed to be done. Craftsmen, all of that. And in that, I think the beauty of it is, because then when I went back to read it, there comes a point where the person who was like ahead of collecting all of the offerings goes to Moses and he says, listen, you're going to have to tell these people to stop. They're still giving and it's now costing us time. We're spending so much time collecting that we can't be putting we need to start building and we have excess now, basically. We have all that we need. Tell them to stop giving. And again, God showed me that if he called Moses to lead the people and to serve the people and do this thing, and he's called me to lead people through Move Meetup and do this thing, this ministry, he will provide the resources. And the other thing he showed me is that it's not supposed to be DIY, people. I think for me, I can get out the duct tape. I can, DIY this the best of others. And at the same time, as I went back and I read that, I was like, no, this was not halfway done with barely skilled people. The Lord provided all that was necessary for this to be built with excellence. Because God is excellent, right? And some of us need to hear this message. And I know that God did not just walk me through this just for me, although he loves me enough that he would, but that there are others who will be set free in this area, or at least the lights will come on of like, oh, you mean I'm not supposed to be doing this on my own? No. And you're not supposed to be DIYing it either. The Lord will send people to support you and help you, because you aren't meant to do this alone. He will send the people who can build a website. He will send the people who, who's good at branding. For me, one of the things I'm like, a videographer. I need a videographer. I need someone who can take the vision of what Move Meetup is and create a video spelling it out, so 1 + 1 = 2, and people can understand the vision that's in my mind. And take the words that God has given me and just keep it short and like 2-minute video, because I'm wordy. And again, this is for me. And in this of like showing me that I need people, because I will close people off because I want to self-protect. I want to self-protect myself. And also like, this ministry is so important to me. The message that God has given me to share with people in helping them with their mental health, women specifically, to get out of survival mode, to start becoming present, to just show up when they don't want to get out of bed. A long time ago, and I can't remember if this was like, I'm trying to remember if this was, I think again, Exodus. I think of when Moses was called to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let his people go. That is what, like, the Lord is calling me to lead his people out. The enemy has been holding his people hostage with these mental health issues, the anxiety, the depression, the overwhelm, the trauma that they have gone through. Not that I am a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but like, he has given me a message to share with them and to disciple them and lead them to the promised land through Move Meetup. That is what Move Meetup is for. And by the way, it's online now. You can join me every single Thursday. We meet at 9 a.m. online via Zoom to move our bodies, not in a way that is about exercise, but it's just about showing up and being present with the Lord, recognizing what we're holding on to that needs surrendered, to remember that we're not in this alone, that the Lord is in control, to stop with the coping mechanisms, to become aware of them, because most of us aren't even aware of them. That is the work of Move Meetup, to connect people back to the Lord, to remind them that He is their strength. They do not have to do this alone, because so many people, just like me, we're like trying to do this on our own. And God is like, no, like, I'm bringing you into community. You need support. Just like the body, the church body, some of us are called to be the arms, and some of us the hands, and some of us the feet, some of us the elbow. It's the same. And we need community. And so anyway, I think that's it for this episode. It went way longer than I thought. There will be more coming, because again, this is just the beginning of like saying yes to God and doing uncomfortable things. He's rewiring the brokenness and loves me so much that, it's not coming through coaching right now. It's not coming from a miraculous check in the mail. Yes, a miraculous check came in the mail, but I had to ask for it because there was so much healing done and restoration when I was willing to ask for something I needed. And my own father my dad was able to provide. Like, the imagery is not lost on me. But also, I think I shared at the beginning of this that my dad and I didn't always have a good relationship. There was a lot of brokenness in that relationship and in like my home life. And again, not that I haven't forgiven him, because I forgave him long before it ever got better. But I also recognize, like, I don't think it was his fault that he wasn't able to be there. He was struggling with his own things. And it just is what it is. But the fact that, you know, this relationship between daughter and father, earthly father, had some areas of brokenness, and that God would allow my own dad to, you know, the same person who hurt me and who I couldn't trust or rely on for a really long time, to show up and provide. Like, I have to believe that didn't just do something for me, it did something for my dad also. It's just so multifaceted, you know? Like, so many times we just see, like, so one-dimensional. It's just one-dimensional for us, and it's so much bigger, multifaceted in so many ways. Like, every different direction and perspective, the Lord is working on our behalf, and sometimes we don't understand, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't still be in a posture of surrender and talking to God about it. Like, God, what am I missing? What is going on? You know, like, I knew that, like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but something was missing. And, you know, finally I got to the point where I realized it's the community piece. I have to allow myself to be vulnerable instead of pretending like I have it all together. Because listen, people even in my own community would not know that I needed help, because I'm not going to let them know that. Because also, it never even occurred to me that people would want to help. I don't know why. I have no idea. Like, warped. Like, it's like there are parts of me that are so warped and just broken that I didn't even recognize that, number one, he would send people to help with this, but that people would have the desire and want to help. And it's beautiful to watch this come to, you know, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. All I know is, like, God is going to show up, and I'm just going to continue walking out the steps that he's given me to the best of my ability, surrendered, and repent when I mess up, because I do, and I will, and stay rooted in him and aligned and abiding in him, so that I can be sensitive to his nudges and know that it's the Lord, instead of questioning whether, you know, is this me or is this the Lord? Like, I want to be so clear and know that I know at all times. So, long episode, guys, but this was like a very powerful, monumental lesson that God has taught me over the last couple months, and I hope it serves you well.